Have you ever felt like there's a huge disconnect at work? Like something is just fundamentally broken? Well, you're not alone. And today we're diving into a quiet revolution that's totally rethinking how we work. A huge shift away from the old command and control model towards something way more human. It really all starts with this one kind of shocking number, 15%. According to Gallup's global research, that's the percentage of people who are actually truly engaged in their work. Let that sink in, 15. That means for a whopping 85% of us, our job is just something we have to get through, not a place where we feel we can give our best. And that's not just a bummer. It's a massive crisis of wasted human potential. So first up, let's unpack the reality behind that number. What does this huge wave of disengagement really look like? And, what's causing it? Here's the crazy thing. The problem isn't a lack of purpose itself, but a giant gap in who actually gets to feel it. A McKinsey survey found that while 85% of top execs feel like they're living their purpose at work, that number just plummets to 15% for frontline employees. Think about that. The people who are closest to the customer are the most disconnected from the mission. So what gives? Is it a problem with people, or is it something deeper? Well, MIT's Zeynep Ton argues we've got it all wrong. We tend to blame individuals, right? We say they're unmotivated or they don't have the right skills. But the real issue is the system we've built, a system that pretty much sets them up to fail. So how on earth did we get here? Why are our companies designed in a way that just churns out frustration and disengagement? In this next part, we're going to trace the roots of this old bureaucratic machine to really understand why it's failing us so badly today.
The core issue, really, is that our management models are antiques. Seriously, while our technology has taken these massive leaps forward, our organizational playbook is still running on ideas from over 100 years ago. We're talking scientific management, command and control pyramids, and this more recent obsession with shareholder value. The result? We're stuck on what John Mackey calls a flat S-curve when it comes to management innovation.
And this slide just brilliantly illustrates that fundamental shift in thinking. The old way of doing things said the only purpose of a business is to maximize profit, period. But a more conscious view, which Whole Foods founder John Mackey puts so well, sees profit differently. It's not the purpose, but it's essential for survival. Kind of like red blood cells. You absolutely need them, but they're not the point of life itself. So what's the end result of this old model? You get a system that actively works against our potential. It, in the words of Hire's visionary chairman Zhang Rumen, suppresses the insulated atom of everyone inside. It basically demands that we just comply and follow the rules, when what the world really needs from us is our creativity and our unique contribution. Okay, but here's where the story takes a really hopeful turn. A new model is rising up. And this isn't just some theory. It's a proven alternative that's putting humanity right back at the center of how we do business. So let's explore its core principles. The first principle is all about redefining purpose. It's this radical idea, as former Unilever CEO Paul Polman says, that the most successful companies will profit not from creating the world's problems, but from actually solving them. This totally flips the goal from just taking value to contributing value for everyone. And Paul Polman does not mince words about what's at stake here. He sees this as an evolutionary thing. The companies that get on board with this bigger, purpose-driven model, they're going to thrive. And the ones that don't, well, they're basically heading for extinction. The second principle is genuine empowerment. And this is so much more than what Roche's Bill Anderson calls fake empowerment. Where leaders tell you you're empowered, but then they micromanage every single decision. No, this is about a deep-seated belief that genius is everywhere in an organization, and trusting people to solve problems without having to ask for permission all the time. And the foundation for all of this? It's trust. It's about creating what Amy Edmondson calls psychological safety, an environment where you're not afraid to speak up, where a different opinion isn't a threat, but a treasure that can lead to incredible breakthroughs. Now, I know this might all sound a bit idealistic, but it's happening right now in some of the world's biggest and most complex companies. Let's take a look at a few of these pioneers who are actually putting these ideas into practice.
Okay, so take Buurtzorg, a Dutch home healthcare organization. The difference between them and the traditional model is just stark. A typical company might have 10 or more layers of management. Buurtzorg has 2. 25% overhead, Buurtzorg has less than 1%. And the results? For their 15,000 employees, they have the highest engagement rates and the best patient outcomes, all with basically no managers.
Think that can only work in healthcare? No way. This number, 4 to 5, is the number of management layers at Nucor, a $25 billion American steel company. Just 4 or 5 layers between a new hire on the factory floor and the CEO. It proves you can have massive scale and incredible simplicity at the same time.
The CEO of Michelin, Florent Menegauer, just captures the spirit of this perfectly. This isn't some new program you roll out or process you install. It's a fundamental change in philosophy. He says if you treat empowerment like another box-ticking exercise, you have already completely missed the point.
And this new philosophy leads to some really radical and kind of counterintuitive practices. I mean, Roche got rid of traditional budgets and now relies on peer accountability. Hire, the world's biggest appliance maker, is organized into thousands of tiny, independent micro-enterprises. And get this, Nucor has a social contract to never lay off teammates for performance, which creates this incredible loyalty. So this proves it's not just a few weird companies, it's a real movement. So the big question is, how can you be a part of it? In our final section, we'll talk about the first steps anyone, and I mean anyone, can take. So where does a revolution like this actually begin? Do you have to be the CEO? Do you have to wait for some grand top-down initiative? The answer is a huge, resounding no. This insight from Helen Bevan of the UK's National Health Service is just so empowering. We're always told to wait for permission from the top or to try and build some massive movement from the bottom, but real, lasting change, it often starts side by side with just a small group of passionate peers. So what can you do tomorrow? Like literally tomorrow. Start by finding your allies, those other people who see the same problems you do and care just as much. Ask your team the same question former Apple exec Angela Arendt used. What breaks your heart about our work? Start one single small experiment. And maybe most importantly, focus on shifting loyalty away from just following the process and toward achieving the purpose. Let's just end on this thought. For more than a century, we've been trying to squeeze dynamic, creative, amazing human beings into these rigid, mechanical boxes we call organizations. But what if we flip that script? What if we finally decided to build organizations that are as amazing, as adaptable, and as inspiring as the people who work inside them? What would that look like?